The golden morning light slipped through the tall windows of room 207 at Willow Ridge Middle School, casting soft beams across polished linoleum floors. It was the kind of light that made promises, fresh starts, clean slates. But for one student, it only illuminated the storm she had already begun to weather. Sierra James sat near the front, her hands neatly folded on her desk, fingers tracing the edge of a brand-new notebook. Her backpack was spotless, her navy cardigan pressed, and her tightly coiled hair pulled back with a deep violet ribbon her grandmother had tied that very morning. "You look beautiful," Nana had said, cupping Sierra's face gently, eyes warm with something stronger than love protection. "Remember, baby, you don't have to shrink for anybody." The door swung open, and a tall woman with angular features and a tightly wound blonde bun strode in, clipboard tucked to her chest. "Good morning, class," she said crisply, her voice as tight as the lines between her eyebrows. She didn't smile. She didn't glance at Sierra. "Find your seats. Let's get started." The woman's name was Ms. Danvers. Her gaze swept the room like a scanner, cool and calculated. When she reached Sierra's name during attendance, her tone dipped, just a shade, just enough. "Sierra James." She didn't look up. Sierra responded with a soft "here," but the teacher had already moved on. Sierra knew how classrooms worked. She knew how to read between the lines. This wasn't her first school. She had transferred from a city district where the air felt different, more forgiving. Here, though, everything felt carved in glass, beautiful but cold. The other students, all white, slid into their seats in familiar pairs and trios, sharing stories about vacations and sleepovers. No one made eye contact with Sierra. No one sat next to her. When Ms. Danvers handed out the classroom rules, she skipped Sierra's row. Sierra raised her hand to ask for a copy. Ms. Danvers walked over, dropped the paper on her desk without a word, without eye contact, as though Sierra were a request rather than a person. Sierra kept her expression blank. She knew the silence too well. As the day wore on, she watched the tiny gestures pile up, the teacher asking Lily about her summer camp, complimenting Ben's backpack, ruffling Owen's hair when he made a joke. When she passed Sierra's desk, she said nothing. Her eyes flicked towards Sierra's twists and darted away quickly, like her presence was too loud, too much. At lunch, Sierra sat alone, carefully unwrapping her sandwich. The cafeteria buzzed with laughter and crinkling chip bags, but she was a silent bubble amid the noise. A few students glanced her way, but no one waved. No one joined her. She didn't mind. Not at first. She was used to being new. That afternoon, during a writing exercise titled Who I Am, Sierra wrote about her love for science, her favorite book The Girl Who Could Fly, and her grandmother's stories about marching for voting rights in Selma. She wrote with pride. But when she handed in her essay, Ms. Danvers barely looked at it, just slid it to the bottom of the pile, unbothered. The following days settled into a rhythm, a grating, exhausting one. Sierra showed up each morning with homework done and shoes shined, but effort alone wasn't enough. Ms. Danvers treated her like background noise, except when it came time to single her out. In math, Sierra answered a question correctly. Ms. Danvers raised an eyebrow, checked the board, then said, "That's one way to interpret it," before praising another student who gave the same answer moments later. During group projects, Sierra was randomly assigned to work alone. "Some of us focus better without distractions," Ms. Danvers said with a glance at Sierra's hair, like it was a problem to be solved. And when Sierra asked to use the restroom, she was told, "Didn't you just go yesterday?" while another student was waved off without question minutes later. It wasn't about the rules. It was about how they were applied. Or rather, who they were applied to. Still, Sierra held her head up. She remembered her grandmother's voice, "Stand tall even when they want you to sit small." One of the only bright spots was the girl who sat in front of her, Maya Townsend. Pale, bookish, and quiet, Maya didn't say much, but she noticed things. When Sierra's colored pencil broke, Maya slid her an extra. When Ms. Danvers skipped Sierra's row, Maya whispered the page number. Small gestures. Lifelines. Then came the day of the incident. It was a Wednesday, just after lunch. Art class. The room buzzed as students cut paper pumpkins and fall leaves for the upcoming harvest festival. Sierra had already made 3 flawless pumpkins, tongue tucked between her lips in focused concentration. Ms. Danvers moved through the room, handing out glue sticks and supplies from a plastic bin. "Nice work, Oliver. Very creative, Sarah." When she got to Sierra, her voice shifted, following directions for once, loud enough for those around to hear. Sierra didn't react. She was used to the weight of backhanded compliments by now. Ms. Danvers placed a glue bottle on her desk, a different kind than the others. The cap was silver, not orange. Sierra hesitated. It looked wrong, but she didn't want to cause a scene. She squeezed a drop onto her paper, pressed a pumpkin in place. And then it hit her. Cold, wet, heavy, thick, right at the crown of her head. The smell hit next, sharp, chemical, industrial. Not the gentle scent of Elmer's glue. Something harsher. Something wrong. Gasps rose around her. Sierra's hand flew to her hair. Sticky. Her fingers came back coated in thick, hardening superglue. Her ribbon was soaked. Her twists, carefully nurtured since childhood, were fusing together into a matted, burning mess. She looked up. Miss Danvers stood just behind her, holding the bottle. The silver-capped bottle. "Oh my," the teacher said, voice falsely sweet. "What a terrible accident. Must have grabbed the wrong one." Maya shot to her feet. "That's not craft glue. Craft glue has orange caps. That came from the locked supply cabinet." Miss Danvers froze. Her expression cracked. Let's not overreact. But it was too late. Sierra stood, the glue pulling at her scalp. Her eyes burned. Her chest ached with humiliation. But then another voice. "She unlocked the cabinet before class," Maya said. Another student stood up. "She didn't give that glue to anyone else." And in that moment, Sierra knew the security camera had seen it all. She was rushed to the nurse. Ms. Alvarez, kind but furious beneath her calm, worked to loosen the glue from Sierra's hair. Her fingers were gentle, but the damage was done. Some of the hair was unsalvageable. The ribbon her grandmother had tied was ruined. Sierra sat stiffly, not crying. She wasn't broken, just burning. Then the nurse's door opened, and in stepped Principal Jackson James. Her father. His eyes took in the scene, his daughter's ruined hair, the burning red marks on her scalp, the nurse's quiet apology. "What happened?" he asked, voice low and hard. Ms. Alvarez didn't hesitate. "Superglue. From a locked cabinet. Administered by her teacher." Sierra whispered, "Hi, Dad." He froze. That one word cracked him open. "Why wasn't I told?" he asked. "I didn't want to make it worse," Sierra said softly. His jaw tightened. "You've been handling this on your own? All this time?" He turned to the vice principal. "Pull the footage. Back it up. Now." Ms. Danvers was removed from campus. Quietly. Without incident. But the silence she left behind was thunderous. That night, the story broke online. Parents called. Some in support. Others in denial. One email read, "She should have worn normal hair." Sierra stared at the message. "They think it's about hair," she whispered. "But it's never just about hair. It's about who they think gets to belong," her father replied. The next morning, Sierra walked into school with a scarf wrapped gently around her head. Her steps were steady. Her silence was over. Room 207 was dark. A substitute sat at the desk. 1 week later, the school board hearing overflowed with people, parents, staff, students. Superintendent Lorelei Kane stood at the podium. "What happened at Willow Ridge was not an accident," she said. "It was the consequence of systemic neglect. We failed Sierra James." Behind her, stills from the footage played silently. The glue bottle, the frozen horror, the betrayal. Principal James spoke next. "As a father and an educator, I cannot stay silent. What happened wasn't just humiliating. It was dehumanizing. And yet, my daughter returned to school, not with fear, but with defiance." The board voted unanimously. Ms. Danvers was terminated. Her license revoked. A district-wide investigation was launched. Bias training mandated. A student-led equity council was formed, and Sierra was asked to co-chair it. After the hearing, a younger student approached her, handing her a folded note. "My sister's starting next year," the girl whispered. "I hope she gets to meet you." The note read, "Thank you for making it safer." That night, at a school-wide forum, Sierra stood at the mic. This wasn't just about one teacher. It was about who gets protected and who's expected to endure. "I won't stay silent anymore. Not for me. Not for the ones who come after." The applause wasn't loud, but it was honest. And Sierra, with her head held high and her truth laid bare, knew one thing with unshakable certainty. This was no ending. It was only the beginning.